Well, at a time when obesity is a national epidemic, you might not think that the flip side of that coin would be such a problem as well, but it is. Rising country singer Stephanie Owens once monitored every last thing she ate and then over-exercised to exhaustion in a quest to look perfect. She reveals that battle in her new single, Little Girl in the Mirror.
Staring in the mirror, wishing you were here, but all of the voices keep pushing you down until you're quiet, stranded in the silence. Am I ever gonna find you again? I'm tired of trying so hard to be what everybody else wants me to be. So now I'm fighting for the girl, little girl in the mirror.
Joining me now is singer Stephanie Owens, along with an expert in the field of eating disorders, Dr. Linda Mintle. She's been helping people with these issues for over 30 years. Would you please welcome back our favorite relationship doctor, Linda Mintle, and Stephanie Owens. Great to have you guys here.
Thank you.
You know, it's hard for me to believe, Stephanie, that you thought that there was something wrong with you. You're a beautiful young lady. You have a phenomenal voice and a great career ahead of you. What triggered this? Do you have any idea?
And I did start performing at a young age, and that kind of, I think, really made me focus on my looks. And I just wanted to be perfect, and I wanted everyone to perceive me as the ideal. And so I think that immediately just kind of started getting in my head and started focusing way too much on the physical appearance.
Dr. Mintle, when I think about the extraordinary problems people have with eating disorders, and it ranges really from obesity all the way to anorexia and bulimia. What is different in this culture that we didn't have 100 years ago? Because I don't remember ever hearing about an eating disorder, you know, in the 1800s or the mid-1900s for that matter.
Well, they actually did exist back then. We just didn't hear a whole lot about it. But it's really interesting. When you look at a place like the Fiji Islands, they had one documented case of an eating disorder. And then Western culture was brought in through MTV and through media. And after that started to become much more of an influence, now they have a problem, just like the rest of the world.
But how does that trigger, I mean, maybe I could see it triggering a eating disorder of anorexia or bulimia. How does that trigger obesity?
What you resist, you persist. So the more you deprive yourself of something, the more you want something, the more you feel like you can't do it, and then you get into this hopeless state and you just give in and give up. And a lot of us, and it's really similar with obesity, with eating disorders, a lot of us use food to cope with stress, to cope with emotional problems that we're having. We medicate with food, so that's one of the commonalities of the two.
What triggered you to finally say, this isn't working, I got to do something different?
There was a really low point when I was about 13, and I had kind of thought, whatever, I'll get better eventually, and I'll just figure this out. But I grew up as a believer and accepted Jesus when I was young, but I don't really think I knew what that meant for my life. And when I was in that eating disorder, I finally got to a point where I was like, I don't really know why I was born, honestly. And I was like, prayed. I said, Lord, if I'm gonna get better, you're just gonna have to do this, because I'm rock bottom right now. And I was just so miserable. And so I think he just took that, and once I kind of was like, all right, fix it, then he started to heal me, so.
Dr. Mintle, what do you advise for parents or grandparents? They want to help, you know, their granddaughter, their grandson. What do they do?
It's really important to know the early warning signs. So when you have a child that's fixating on food and excessively exercising, dieting, you know, leaves after you've had a meal and go to the bathroom. So we're talking about bulimia too, where they're purging, they're getting rid of the food. And when you go into a state of starvation, your thinking part of your brain doesn't do very well. So part of it is you've got to stabilize the weight, and you've got to stabilize the eating patterns, and then people begin to think better and clearly, and then they can work on the core issues, which are identity, who am I, what am I all about, control, releasing the control, because we can't control everything, right? Regulating our emotions and beginning to develop into the person that we're supposed to be.
Well, I hope people will take the advice from both of you very seriously. I hope you will visit drlindamintle.com. You can learn more about eating disorders. You can read her helpful blogs on health and relationship topics. You can also order her book, Getting Unstuck. all at drlindamintle.com. And listen to her on weekends on myfaithradio.com. Be sure to explore the wonderful music of Stephanie Owens. You can listen and download her songs at stephowensmusic.com. That's stephowensmusic.com. It's also on your screen. Write it down. Make sure you visit. In fact, you ought to go to Huckabee.tv because you can enjoy an exclusive performance of her song, Little Girl in the Mirror. I hope you don't miss that, the whole song. Visit Huckabee.tv and hear this wonderful young lady's incredible voice.